Alright, this will be the People News. So we got some new things going on in government. However, are they taking the correct oath of office? Okay, and there may be a few videos after this because we got to really break these things down and how they are impeding on our rights, causing battery and domestic abuse against us without zero authority to do so. And I'm not attorney and I'm not giving legal advice. But sit here and just think outside the box. What is the cause and effect of things that pull a wool over our eyes against us? Alright, so this is Rob Ryder, okay, 3 B's, accidental, Rob Ryder. Alright.
So we're going to get on with it here in just a second. And what I'm going to do is just show you the different oath structure in the United States and show you where it's being violated by all sorts of different groups of people. And if you have any plan of ever making the government work, you had better start at the beginning, which is where the oath was, because it was the first law passed in the United States after the ratification of the Constitution. Said this is the oath that satisfies the 6th article of the Constitution. Well, guess what, Elon? The people in the 6th article of the Constitution aren't taking it. So let's start there. Give me just a second, we'll get going. So any study on oaths of office for the United States would start with the 6th article of the Constitution of the United States. And as we'll see, that caused the first law to be put in the books by George Washington, commonly known as 1 Stat 23, first volume of the statutes at large, page 23. And later, it was codified in the United States Code under 4 USC 101/102. And that oath simply says, I, A.B., do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
Now, so sit there and check this out, right? That's it. Okay. Now it goes into a totally different piece of paper, right? Because even with this oath right here, well, that's a different oath. That needs to be on a separate sheet of paper. This oath right here, 5 USC 3331, right? Separate sheet of paper. They cannot be all on one piece of paper because they're different oaths. Okay? And they got to have their full legal birth name. All right.
Well, the people in the 6th article are supposed to take that are not doing it. Well, we're going to go look at that a little bit closer in a second. But then the next one there is the oath of enlistment. See, this is what I took. I, state your name, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I bear true faith and allegiance to the same. So I'm bound by oath to do what I can. And that's what I'm doing now. And I will obey the orders of the President of the United States. Well, there's a problem with that because the guy who should be President of the United States doesn't take the proper oath of office. As we'll see here in a little bit, they corrupted the oath of the inauguration oath, not the oath of inauguration. That's what they corrupted. Okay, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. Let's go look at some of these things real quick. So this is from the U.S. Code, house.gov. Right? This is the version of a Constitution in the United States Code. That says in its 6th article, in the 3rd section, the senators, representatives before mentioned, and members of the several state legislatures, and all ALL executive and judicial officers, both in the United States and the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution, but no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification in any office or public trust under the United States. Okay. Well, that's what the Constitution says. And then on June 1st, 1789, soon after the ratification.
And I hate to pause it because it's really good stuff, right? But really pay attention to this one because this hasn't been changed. Congress did not go in there and change any of this. So this document right here if you get a copy of this document, you can send it into court as evidence. Okay? I used to know how to do it, but it's been so long, I've forgotten. But do your own research. Go through the channels and actually get the original. Now, when you get the original, you do want what? What do you want? A stamp across there, like he did. Okay? It's a certified copy. That way, when it's put in your court case, it's right there.
George Washington and John Adams and Frederick Augusta Muhlenberg, those three people, right? The president, the guy that's in charge of the Senate, and the guy in charge of the House, got together and they passed this law, which was an act to regulate time and manner of administering certain oaths. It says in the very first section that the oath or affirmation required by the 6th Article of the Constitution of the United States shall be administered in the form following, to wit. We looked at it. I, A, B, do solemnly swear or affirm, in case may be, I will support the Constitution of the United States.
That's it. That's your first oath of office. And everybody should have it. Your officers, your sheriffs, your judges, all your state legislatures, in all states. How complicated is it, right? So what they're saying is they don't want to take this oath. They're ignoring it. Or creating a version of it where it looks like it is, but they violated the law. Okay? They broke the law. Not the people. They did.
I think that would be simply done, but it doesn't get done. And this goes into how they're supposed to do it and so forth. It's, not very long. It's only a couple pages. So there it is. But I wanted to point out in Section 5 then, on top of that, that the clerk of the House and the Secretary of the Senate, they also have to do a particular oath. And, you cannot find that anybody has taken these oaths. I don't have the wherewithal to get the information, but I know how you could. Well, with a subpoena. Subpoena their oaths. If they don't have one, well, then they're violating the mandate of the Constitution. Okay, so this is the original 1 Stat 23, right? Then later, like I said, it got codified into the United States Code. This is Title 4, which is for the flag, seal, seat of government, and the states. And in Section 101, it says that every member of a state legislature and every executive judicial officer of a state shall, before he proceeds to execute duties of his office, take an oath in the following form. And it's got the same words. In fact, if you follow these links back, it'll take you back to 1 Stat 23 by going through 61 Stat 643. In other words, they make it as complicated as they try to, but it's still written, and this is what it says. And then after that, so now you take the oath, then what? Well, then the oath has to be the person administering the oath has to cause a record or certificate to be made to be evidence that the dude took the oath. Without it, you haven't taken the oath. And so none of the people in the 6th article. So again, we're talking about the people who claim to be senators and representatives, or call them congressmen, whatever you're going to call them, or the members of your state legislature, or any state judicial or executive officer. That'd be like the governor and the justices, the justices of the peace, and the judges, and the attorneys generals, and the, every state has its own constitution. And in that constitution, or whatever officers are going to have authority in the state, all them people are state officers because they have an office by their state's constitution. They would all have to have taken this oath that we're talking about right here.
Right. And let's stretch it out. So maybe and maybe not your local cops, because really they're not state officers as much as they are their local security guards for your township or your city, right? So they're under contract with the town itself. But by being a creature of the state, right? It still would fall under this category, I am led to believe and do believe. So they would still have to take this oath, okay? And then the administrative parts of anybody that's going to have alleged authority over you, CPS workers. If they think they're going to have any form of authority, CPS workers need to take this oath, right? Because now they're an administrative. They're a creature of the state, even though it's a separate corporation. But they still are a creature of the state, and they have in some form of alleged authority.
In 4 USC 101. So why don't you start there, Elon? Why don't you, instead of suing these people, why don't you subpoena their oaths? Right? Go talk to a military attorney about doing that. We're going to get into that part a little bit, but
Well, and he's bypassing this, but I go a step further. If the judges are not taking this oath and any other oath without their full legal birth name, well, they committed perjury. Well, since they committed perjury, it's time to impeach them, which in Texas is Article 1, Section 15. And, you could you call them out, once you start impeaching these judges, or try to make a petition to impeach them, right? Because you got to do all these things in writing, right? This is the reason why the rich people keep getting by in Congress and getting things done, because they do petitions. And they pay them off, yes, but they also do a written in-house petition. And any laws that, like the mom for against drug drivers, they did petitions. We, just normal people, have not been doing petitions in writing. All right?
That's how you're going to find out they don't have them, and then you can do something. So if Gavin Newsom wants to do something in California, we'll just go subpoena his oaths. He doesn't have them, he can't do anything. It's he can try what he wants, but it will be proven to be of no legal effect. And then justly he can be captured because he's committed treason. See, they're supposed to have taken these oaths, but they haven't done it, and that's avoiding a loyalty oath. And since the time of Henry VIII, if you avoided a loyalty oath, they executed you. You can ask Sir Thomas More, St. Thomas More, right, who was Henry VIII's chancellor and wouldn't take his loyalty oath because he wasn't going to take an oath to the crown instead of over the church. And so all of them have been friends for the years, I guess. I don't know. I watched the movie, so that's how much I know what I saw in the movie. Eventually, he ended up being executed. And a couple other guys did, where they bragged about not taking the oath. And Henry VIII found out and had them executed. And that put an end to that shit. So this is common law. If you avoid a loyalty oath, then that's an executable offense. Period. So, of course, Congress takes an oath. I mean, they make a big deal about it, right? That they're not taking the oath mandated by the 6th article. Or excuse me, by 1 Stat 23. And a statute at large is a law of the United States. Until it's been repealed or taken out, it's still the law. And for USC 101, it's the law. If these aren't the law, then what are we doing, right? These are supposed to be laws of the United States. So what's happening?
Well, and I still beg the difference. Now, even though he's making this claim, deep in back of his head, he knows that it's not really the law, but it's got the force of law. Okay? Now, check this out on down here, right? Common takes his oath, cancel their true identity by not using their full legal name. Just sit and think about that. But that goes with everybody.
Officers, they're not Article 6 officers. They fall under Article 5. because an individual, except the president, elected or appointed to an office of honor or profit in the civil service or uniformed services, shall take oath in the following manner. IAB, blah, 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 so help me God. Then it says at the end of that section, it says, this section does not affect other oaths required by law. So if they had to take this other oath, then they still could, right? But the oath that satisfies the 6th article is not the same as the oath for 5 U.S.C. 3331, which is supposed to be for offices of honor and profit in civil service or uniformed services, of which, of course, under uniformed services comes armed forces. Well, Congress.
And so the reason why judges are supposed to really take this, and cops and all that as well, right? They're charging you a fee, okay? And really, what they're saying is they are actually foreign from the people. Right? People are not foreign; they are foreign, and they're charging fees. You know, like when you go to prison, you go to 10 years, and then you're gonna have to pay, $10,000. Well, that's charging a fee.
In the same wording, right? This is the oath that the members of Congress take. These words right here, and the proof of it is. Give me a minute to find it here. Hang on a second. Now, the proof is in the congressional record. This particular one is January 17, 2019. So right after elections in the fall, now we come to the first of the year, and we're supposed to do. Well, first of all, they're supposed to have done any oath type stuff is the very first thing. So like on January 3rd. But we're looking at January 17th, and we're going to see the after adjournment, mind you. So now the business of the day is done, but after adjournment, the people who claim to be the House are going to slip this in and say the oath of office members, resident commissioner, delegates. The oath of office required by the 6th article of the Constitution of the United States, comma. Well, we just looked at that. And as provided by Section 2, Well, that's the one that we're looking at here. Right? That's the one in 5 U.S.C. 3331. They're two different oaths. The one for the Constitution and the one that's in 5 U.S.C. 3331. Apparently, that's up to them. That's what they said. Right? That's where all these statutes backdate to. None of them rescind what was said in the.
Right. And there we go. Right here. Stat 22, right? To be administrative. So it's administrative branch. So your magistrates, they're in